Hello and welcome to Study Abroad Conversations. I'm Stacy Shimizu of the International Office at Illinois Wesleyan University. Today's conversation is about studying abroad at Oxford. I'm going to bow out of the conversation and let my guests introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Jenny and I'm a senior and economics major at Illinois Wesleyan. I'm very excited to tell you guys all about this wonderful study abroad experience.
My name's Keegan James, and I'm a senior economics major as well, and I studied at St. Catherine's College.
And hi, everybody. I'm Mike Theune. I teach in the English department, and I'm the University Writing Program Director. I went to Oxford some years ago in the early to mid-90s on a British Marshall Scholarship. So I get to join these terrific students and get to chat with them a little bit about Oxford. What do you think? What do you think, you two? Shall we, do you want to just kind of say a little bit about which colleges you went to? And then maybe should we kind of talk a little bit maybe about academics first and then leap into some other things? So yeah, Jenny, where'd you go? Which college were you at?
So I was at Pembroke College, which is like a small college in like the city center of Oxford. And I was there for my whole junior year.
That's great.
I was at St. Catherine's College, which is the newest, and I guess it is the newest college, but it's also the biggest. And it's kind of like on the periphery of Oxford, I guess in terms of downtown. And I was only there for 2 terms.
And I was at Oriel, kind of a smaller college, kind of in the shadow of Christ Church, but kind of in the heart of the center of Oxford. So that was pretty nice. And I was there for 2 years, from 92 to 94, as a British Marshall Scholarship. So one of the things I think we all experienced during our time was the very different kind of sense of the Oxford education and how it is kind of organized around the tutorial and then attending lectures. Do you two want to talk a little bit about how kind of your experience of what tutorials were like and what the educational component of Oxford felt like?
Yeah, I can talk about the tutorial system at Oxford, which we don't have at Illinois Wesleyan. So for people who don't know what tutorial is, it is basically a very small class where there is a professor who we call a tutor in Oxford, and usually 1 or 2 other students. And in the tutorial, we usually talked about the topic of the essay that we were assigned for that week. And it often entails like a lot of like in-depth discussions, and very often you will be asked to comment on others people's ideas and then defend your ideas. So in my experience, it was a very good way to like, again, a deeper understanding of a topic, but also to like practice your critical thinking.
Yeah, and in terms of lectures, you know, we went to lecture probably 2 to 3 times per week, depending on the course that we were taking. But those lectures were a little bit different because they gave a lot of outside work for us to do. So there's a lot of reading that we had to do before we go into lecture, because the lecture is kind of like the nitpicky stuff, and you're expected to have that background knowledge already. And so I think that's one thing that was very different. The lecture is kind of what you'd expect from like a bigger lecture at like maybe a bigger university, where you don't really interact with the professor. You sit there, you take your notes, you take in all the information, and then that tutorial is really when you get the time to talk more in depth about a topic and defend your ideas.
That's an interesting way to put it there, Keegan, right? To kind of almost see like, right, there's not much of like the kind of small 12, 15 person class middle ground that we have a lot of like at Illinois Wesleyan. It's kind of either you're in a kind of big, somewhat impersonal lecture there to listen and take notes and integrate into your own thinking, or you're in a very small room, potentially one-on-one with a tutor, and it's intense and focused, and you have to know your stuff, right? Yeah, it's interesting that way. Hey, did we share what we studied? Jenny, what did you study at Pembroke?
So I studied philosophy and economics at Pembroke.
Yeah, great, cool. What did you study at St. Cat's, Keegan?
I studied only economics.
Economics, yeah. And I did philosophy and theology at Oriel. So, yeah, cool. Yeah, what about like workload? What about your sense of like the work-life split or the study life split? Or maybe it wasn't a split, maybe you live for studying. What was your sense of that at Oxford?
So for me, the first term I was in Pembroke, there wasn't a split between like my academic life and then my social life. So it was like academic, like 90% of all the time. Yeah, so in Pembroke or in any other colleges in Oxford, I feel like maybe you guys also feel the same. But there's always this pressure that you have to do well. Like you cannot fall behind because there are so many brilliant students around you. And then you have to like impress the tutors in some way. So it's always this pressure that you always want to do the best on your essays or in everything you do. Yeah, but then I think, having like a balance between the academic life and the social life is always better, because if getting good grades is the only thing that you wake up to in the morning, then you're gonna feel like miserable very quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna miss so much of the Oxford experience as well,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, I definitely shared a similar experience. You have to be realistic when thinking about studying abroad at Oxford, because it's not necessarily your typical study abroad experience where it's, I mean, I know a lot of people study abroad to have a ton of fun. And I did have a ton of fun at Oxford, but you have to be realistic in knowing that it's also a lot of work.
Did you all, for your tutorials, so like I was writing for each tutorial, and I think each term that I was there, I think I was in 2 separate tutorials, and I was writing an essay a week for those tutorials, right? And then is that about what, right? So that was doing, getting to the library, finding resources, and then composing an essay and taking a stand and making an argument on a topic that my tutor gave me the week before.
I think I had a similar experience. So I had 2 tutorials every week, right? So for every tutorial, I had to write like a 5-page paper for each of them. And then to write that 5 pages, I had to read like, more than 10 articles, just to find the ideas and just to find where my stand is on a topic. And so that was like a lot of reading and then a lot of writing.
Yeah. Like a memory that will always stick out to me is that I ended up getting an A- in this game theory class, but we had problem sets every week, but they were challenge problems. And, challenge problems, you were doing well if you got 3 or 4 out of 7.
Right.
And so like, I remember getting my first one back and I got a 3 out of 7. And I was like, I'm literally about to fail this class.
Right.
I was like, I'm actually failing. And like, it took me like, for the first 3 weeks, I got like a 3, a 4, and a 4. And I was like, I'm actually going to fail this class. But it's just a testament to like how different things are there, because it's not that 3 out of the 7. It's you completed 3 very hard like challenge problems. And like, that's something like just the difference between Oxford and the United States is just something that I really, really appreciated.
They really do prize ambition. Well, although you have to hide your ambition, what they prize is real intelligence and a spark that can do something, see something from a new way, and really that has a stamp and that has some style to it, right? And so to figure that the bar is high. But what about so academics is very much kind of at the core of what Oxford is about. You're surrounded by all these smart people and you want to make sure that you're well situated kind of in and among them. but there is good fun to be had. So what did you do besides besides studying? So Keegan, you were pretty active in terms of athletics, is that right? So do you mind saying a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually was able to play football or soccer when I was there for my college's like JCR team, which is like junior common room. So it's basically like the undergraduate team that plays other colleges within Oxford. So that took up a lot of time, and I got to meet a lot of great people, and also, you know, keep up this sense of like routine that I have here. Like soccer provides like a very much like routine in my life, and that was really good that I was able to get that there as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing soccer there.
Yeah, awesome. Jenny, did you have any kind of key kind of pastimes or group affiliations when you were at Oxford?
Yeah, so during my time in Pembroke, I hung out and actually played a little bit for the ice hockey team. So I wasn't good at it, and this sport was new to me.
Nice.
But like, yeah, but like a good thing about that I didn't know before I came to Pembroke is that you can just like sign up for a college team without knowing how to play, and they're gonna teach you along the way how to play the sport. And I really appreciated that. You know, it was my first time, and I was terrible, but
yeah.
yeah, but like you have fun. Yeah.
Jenny, did you know how to ice skate before going to Oxford though?
I was really bad at it.
Okay.
You know,
Great.
Five minutes, but yeah.
Yeah. I think my athletics experience was probably similar to yours. So I had never rowed before, but I joined my college's, so Oriel has a very an incredibly good rowing team, and so they've got numerous boats. So there's the first boat, and those are like fantastic rowers. I was probably on third or fourth boat, right? But anybody could do it, and they were happy to have me, and I was happy to, you know, get out on the Isis, or right, which is what they call the Thames in Oxford, and to be on the water some of those mornings, and to just have that experience and to meet some people in that way was fantastic. And everybody in my boat was just as bad as I was, so we all got along, we all puttered along just fine. So yeah. What about what about Oxford itself? What about, how did you find, like, how was it meeting people and kind of hanging out? How did that go? So I assume maybe sports helped with that, but what about hanging out, and what did you like to do in Oxford?
So for my experience, sometimes I would go to the park with my friends like during weekends. Like in Oxford, there are like huge parks, especially I think the one I went to the most often was the South Park, where we had like a picnic, lying on the grass and just like people playing around. You know, it's just like a very peaceful feeling, and I loved it so much.
Oxford had some of like the best sandwich shops. Right, like you could just, right, like it sounds crazy to say that, but like there were some places you could just get, right, so right, you could prepare a picnic if you wanted to, but you could also just stop in and get a fantastic brie sandwich on amazing French bread and get yourself a soda or something, and just head, oh my God, it was just amazing. Yeah. Keegan, what did you like to do, and how was it meeting people?
Yeah, so because I was busy a lot of like during the day, I really appreciated like the kind of like release through like pub culture where you could just go out and like hang out, and like that's like such a different thing than we have in the United States. Like it's like I would meet tutors, like I'd meet a tutor at the pub.
Yeah.
Like and like you just show up and like be talking about schoolwork like at the pub. It's so different, and that was something that I really appreciated doing, and I met people that way, and it was just a fun thing to do with friends. Just to have some time together before studying again the next day.
That's right, you bet. They have, right, so very often, right, the universities will have in their junior common room, they'll have their own pubs within college, so oftentimes right, drinks can be a little cheaper there, but if you go out, there are some amazing pubs in Oxford. So including a pub where Tolkien and C.S. Lewis would go, and is it the Eagle and Child, I think, where they would go and hang out and create or have discussions about the fantastic realms that they were inventing. So pretty amazing stuff there. Yeah. Well, wait. Okay, hold on. Before we go, come on, Oxford's so beautiful. Give me one or two other detailed memories or places that you recall. Like every time I think of Oxford, I can't help but think of the covered market, right? So, which is right. So it's a series of shops, and then they are covered. They're all covered, right? So, but it feels like almost like a rabbit warren. Like you're kind of in this maze of shops, and there are shoe shops and butcher shops, like butcher shops with like, you know, dead hares, dead rabbits, right? Like actually like kind of hanging there, right? Having been butchered. And just that weird, for me, right, one of the things about Oxford is that strange kind of relationship between kind of, right, on the one hand, it's totally modern, right? You can, everything's, but it's also weirdly like kind of barbaric, because it's barbaric's too much, but it's still medieval, right? It still has that feel, right? Like, so for me, it's covered market and frankly, like dining hall, right, as well. I think at Oriel, we had in our dining hall, it wasn't a huge hall, and we had these 3 huge long tables in it. But the only way, they were long and connected. So like you couldn't like get around. The only way to get to the benches that were against the walls is you would have to literally climb up over on the tables. So I loved those aspects of being there, that weird combination of like how much of like a throwback it was to kind of this kind of very earthy kind of feeling, this kind of, I don't know, a certain wonderful barbarism, but then just incredibly beautiful as well, right? There's so much beauty in Oxford. It's just knockout. Anything kind of, what sticks for you in your memory about Oxford?
I think so related to your story about like there's a mixture between like a very even like modern things and then a very traditional things in Oxford. I can say that I was most impressed by the architecture in Oxford. Yeah, right. Like you have like a very modern and class building, like the business school, and then you have like colleges that look like castles, right?
Yeah.
So it was so interesting to see them like standing, you know, next to each other.
Yep.
And yeah, and you can always see things like that in Oxford. Like something is very modern, but then something is very, very like history and traditional and go way back to a time that you cannot even know what it looks like back then.
To a time before America was born, right? Well, hundreds of years before, right? So yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, 2 things come to mind. One is, again, very similar. I really appreciated like riding a bike everywhere. Like that's huge in Oxford. Everyone rides a bike. There's far more bikes, I would say, than there are cars, at least in some places. And I just remember like when I'd be riding to class, I'd ride past the Radcliffe camera and I'd just be like, wow, like this place is so beautiful. Like and I'm just riding to class. Like it was something super special.
Would you recommend Oxford? Would you recommend study abroad? You enjoyed it, and then like, and any advice?
Yeah, for me, I think I would totally recommend going to Oxford, you know, maybe spending a year or a semester just studying there, because the academic system is so different and it's just so interesting. And then there are also a lot of opportunities in Oxford that would be not familiar to us, you know, in Illinois Wesleyan. And yeah, and then my advice would be, you know, just go if you can go, and then don't forget to maintain a balance between, you know, the academic part and then your social life.
Keegan, what do you think? Is Oxford worth it, and any advice?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't recommend studying abroad at Oxford like anymore. I think it's particularly if you're interested in academia, Oxford is like one of the places to be in the world, literally. And so it really diversified my ways of studying and my ways of thinking, and it kind of provided some sort of academic background that I wasn't really on track to get, like just really anywhere in the US, just because they study so differently. And so I think that that's something that I really appreciate. And Oxford really makes it's hard, but they make it's not impossible. Like I had plenty of time to like go play soccer, hang out with friends. Like I had plenty of time to do the things that I wanted to do. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
You bet. And Oxford, which is wonderful in and of itself, and then you're an easy train or bus ride to London, which is an amazing global metropolis, fantastic city, super cheap. Right, easy to hop on the train. Even did you ever take the mega bus? Right.
That's what I usually took.
Me too. Dirt cheap, right? Just hop on that thing, and they come through Oxford every 10-15 minutes, and you hop on one, and an hour later you're in London. What a treat to talk with you all. Nice to share those memories again.
Yes, thank you, all three of you, so much for sharing your memories of Oxford. I've been there many times. I didn't study there, but I've been there many times, and it really is. You know, Jenny's description of the modern right up against the medieval. It's old and it's new, and I don't really know that there's another place like it.
Yeah. Agreed.
So hopefully you will all get back there soon.
I'd love to. You all are so lucky that you were there recently. I was fortunate. I think it was 5 years ago now, this past summer, that I was there. I was in Wales for a conference, and then couldn't be there and not get back to Oxford and London for a couple of days. But it was such a treat to get back. Wonderful, and you two are lucky to have that as a part of your college career, and to have a place that you can kind of dream about and hopefully get back to as well.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you all. Jenny?
Yeah. I was saying thank you.
Yeah.
I want to go back there as well.
Yeah, great.
All right. Thank you so much.
Nice chatting with you all. Thank you, Stacy.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.